everybody. Welcome back to Mortgage Ballers. This is Rich Hanlin, and today I got the Mr. James Becsei on an interview with me. He's taking some time out of his Arizona millionaire life, life of the rich and famous, and he's going to give us some insights as to loan origination, his thoughts on the market, things he likes to do. James, how long have you been with Xpert?
I think I just hit my year mark. I think it was towards the end of the year last year, like either October, November, somewhere around there.
Okay. I knew that it was about that. For some reason, I thought it was almost 2, but I'm glad you corrected me. First of all, welcome. Thanks for giving me the interview. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you.
The market is what it is, and we're all could use 3 extra hours a day to find those next deals. Where did you come from before you came to Xpert?
Just like in general, work-wise, or?
Yeah, I mean, were you how long have you been in lending total, I guess?
So this is year number 5 for me.
Okay.
I've always been on the wholesale side. Once you go on the wholesale and you kind of see who you're competing against on the retail side, you realize that you never really want to cross that bridge. I've had a few friends of mine that have done it, and they've always kind of come back to the broker side just because, the flexibility and, they're like me where they don't want to be able to tell somebody no, right? There's always an option on the wholesale side, right? Where someone says no before, it's let's see what we can do, and it's usually we can get it done. Matter of fact, the only gentleman that I had come over with me, I took him back from the retail side. So I worked for a small brokerage. It was just a refi only.
Okay.
When I first started.
Big difference.
Big difference, right? I had the foresight to see that refinances, these low rates weren't going to last forever. And I needed to expand my business. I needed to get into commercial. I needed to get into the buy side. So it was actually a great thing for me. I actually left and went to Nexa.
Okay. Right on.
And it didn't take me long to realize that was not the fit for me because it felt like all they wanted me to do was recruit. And that's not really what I wanted to do. It wasn't forced on you, but it just seemed like that was, if you wanted to be successful, you had to recruit. And I was like, I didn't want to do that. So I ended up leaving there, going to a small local brokerage, and that one was just merely to kind of change pace and get out of there. But I won't say the name of the place I work for just because they're all still friends of mine.
Okay.
But when you make all your decisions based on money, right, and not what's best for the buyer, then you're making the wrong decision.
No, I appreciate you sharing that. I've got nothing. There's some great platforms. Everybody runs them a little bit different. Nexa has got the most bodies, but my big thing is I'm more about fundings to bodies. I'd rather have less people doing more loans than more people doing less loans because everybody, it's a time thing. And then those people, what's the quality of the originator? Xpert was never designed for brand new people. We don't have, the ability to teach people unless somebody like yourself wants to take somebody under your wings and do it. As a company, we don't have like a university teaching people how to do loans. It just wasn't designed that way. And that's okay because other people are designed that way, and I take my hat off to them. You got to break your teeth in somewhere, but being brand new in the industry and trying to do purchases when you've got multiple people relying on you, and if you miss your numbers because you don't know what you're doing, that's not good for anybody. And guess what? I get a lot of those calls, and it's always our fault no matter what. If we miss by one day, it's our fault. And it takes time to become good at the purchase side and understand that no matter what, you're the last one to get paid, but it all rides on you and everybody else is going to try and control it. Everybody else wants to be the ringleader, especially the realtors, which is fine. But if something goes wrong in the end, it's going to be our fault. And so knowing that, I don't mess around with my purchases too much. I use UWM a lot when it comes to refis. I'll spread them out, but I want to control everything on that purchase the best that I can. And I can pick up a phone at UWM and go, hey, I need some help. I need this, or something's going wrong, and I can get answers. But obviously it helps since some of the owners are from UWM. They understand that platform, things like that. And even I have to get them involved sometimes on my deals. Do you do things alone or do you do it with a team? Maybe you already said that. I apologize.
So I am a solo artist.
Okay.
Not, and it's just kind of that's how I arrived here. Not opposed to. I've actually talked to a couple different experts, and we've talked about possibly me going over there or possibly putting together even a bigger team. And still some things we talk about. And that's kind of one of my goals for this year is that I really want to, because Xpert allows me to, brand as myself, create my own LLC and have my own, team under the Xpert umbrella, which I love. But just to kind of take one step back, it's because of UWM and Nexa that I found Xpert.
Okay.
My old account executive, probably one of the most knowledgeable guys I know, Ma Brahman. I don't know if you know him. He was my account executive when I was with Nexa. He ended up leaving, and now he works on the broker side. And he's the one that put me in touch with Nate. So
Okay. Good.
thank him for that. But yeah, so that's the plan for me is to, create my own branding so I can kind of push that out there. And then I think the next step from there would be to start adding a couple team members. So
Do you use a DBA right now on your branding?
no, not right now. So that's
Okay.
that's what I'm going to be doing this year.
Okay, cool. We got about 50 of them right now, maybe some more, but we got some good ones. I'm amazed at some of the names people come up with. They're pretty awesome. You've answered a couple of my questions. Talk to me this way, because there's a lot of people, the whole idea, I used to think people say, oh gosh, if you need to dress to the market you want to cater to, and everybody wants the millionaires. I'm like, oh no, I don't. My biggest loans are the hardest working people out there. And they're like, Rich, don't show up at my house with a jacket on. Like, it makes me feel uncomfortable. I'm like, hell yeah, let's have a beer and let's talk about loans. They're so thankful if you can save $300-$400 because most people are living paycheck to paycheck. And, we had Amanda Rawls just save somebody $2,000 in a month. I mean, that's life changing for the average American person. And you start realizing that. And so I'd say the biggest thing I miss from being a broker, I do a lot of purchases, but that's the part I miss on the refinance side is freeing up money for people. And then whether they like it or not, James, I usually give them my 2 cents worth about, hey, if we save this much money, what are you going to do with it? Let me show you how to really get ahead. And I love giving them my 2 cents worth about that stuff versus just making it a transaction. Let me show you what happens if you take half that savings and apply it to your mortgage. What if you put it into this or that? Don't just go replace it with another debt. I've had people do that too. Just crazy. What kind of advice would you give to people in this economy? Now you're in Arizona. Are you licensed in multiple states, by the way?
Multiple states. So
Okay.
kind of my thing that I focus on is I typically renew anywhere from 1 to 3 states per
Okay.
year. Those are Texas, California, and Arizona. And then
Good states.
what I do is I continue to market to other states and I fill those needs as I need them. And that's why, I love this. My wife has asked me, she's like, how come you have never thought about opening up your own brokerage? I'm like, because I couldn't even begin to think of all the possibilities that I would lose out on it would be like a huge step backwards for me at this point. So all of my current active loans right now are all in other states. So Texas, I have a active one in Virginia. I've got somebody pre-approved in Alabama, and Louisiana it seems like a state that's really going to blow up for me this year.
Well, nice.
So that one seems like it's. I ended up not renewing it, and then because I didn't think that the connections I made were that great, but it turns out they were better than I thought. And
Okay.
so I think I ended up renewing it probably the second weekend of January. So
Okay. It's funny you said that. My wife and I go out to dinner and, it's like, gosh, we could have saved the money and just stayed at home and cooked our own meal. But it's kind of that same concept there. Yeah, I can cook my own meal, but, I can only be in so many places at a time. And I'll be honest with you, James, I started as a one-man broker shop, right? And then I said, cool, I'm going to add some extra people because I had some extra leads and I couldn't keep up. My leads were stronger than how many I could call in a day. And I took on like 3, and then it became 10. I stayed at 10 for a long time. That was actually a great company. That was my first company. It was called Roseville Home Loans. And it's funny, I could do all the state of California, but I really worked one city a lot. And it was all refis, no purchases. So when I look at it now and say, God, Lord, 600 people, it's weird to me, because the person I was back then wouldn't been ready for what I have now. And there's times now when I'm being pushed every day past even my limits as what I think I can or can't do. Apologize here. I'm going to click that. But then I'm reminded when I see the quality of originators that partner with us on our platform, people like you, I'm just like, I know I'm right where I need to be. I mean, hell, I'm 57 going on 58 here pretty soon. I think I'm one of the oldest brokers in the business, 35 years as of September this year. And I'm thinking, wow, how much longer can I keep doing it? But it's different and it keeps changing, right? It's not like I'm doing the same thing over and over and over. AI starting to come into play and all kinds of weird stuff. Like, where are we going to be 5 years from now? And so I just take day to day. And I dive in. Somehow my clientele has become investors, not first-time home buyers, not refinance. I do a lot of investors. I'm an investor, so therefore I have kind of I guess I'm able to talk that talk. And I'm amazed how my life has morphed over the years, from how I started, how I thought I had to do it. And sometimes people get to this point and they, even the person, Stephanie Gilbert, that we're going to do, that was number 1 at Xpert out of 620 as of January 1st, she does 15 deals a month, man.
One?
She was number one. So
yeah, I had a chance to meet her at
she's incredible.
UM.
Yeah. And here's the thing. People say, oh, but her average loan. No, it's in the states that she's in, her average loan size is smaller, but her methodology is solid of how she gets business, because to do 15 deals a month means you've got another 30 in the pipeline. And I can't wait for that interview to be able to share it with you guys to, what's it like in the day in the life of a Stephanie Gilbert, who has the same licensing ability as many of us, because I don't do 15 deals a month personally. It's good Lord. That's a machine, but there's something different there. And that's the part I like. And when I do these videos with you guys, I want borrowers to know who you are. I don't want to put a face with you, but at the same point, it's a lot of this has been lost over the years as far as what we're doing face to face. Everything's a link goes to something. And even Dorita Ivy out of California, she still meets with her clients and does a face-to-face loan application, but she has to. She deals with a lot of first-time buyers. And if she's even wrong by $1, most of them don't qualify, because everybody's maxed out in California, even for first-time home buyers, FHA and all that. Do you specialize in anything? Or I might ask you that. What is your main focus every morning when you wake up as far as business? Or are you broad and take anything because you know you can do it?
So I would love to be specialized, but I am broad and I will take anything that comes. And that's part of one of the things that I'm learning to get better at, is just kind of having that structure, right? So I still feel like I'm just kind of going where the current takes me.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
So I've got everything from people who are relocating from work to first-time home buyers to new pseudo amateur investors to people who have been doing this for a long time. So, I've got almost everything across the spectrum. I've got a guy who does roof replacement in California, and, he uses me for HELOCs and a lot of times, reverse mortgages. So I'll take anything,
I like it. You do reverse mortgages. That's definitely a specialty. A lot of people shy away from it. But those are life-changing loans for people, especially that are real estate rich, cash poor, but even on the opposite side, that have money to be able to take that money and invest it in. Some people in California have tons of equity, and I talk to financial advisors, and they use the reverse mortgage to get to that equity and actually reinvest it versus just sitting in the house. I've always wondered, I've never seen the statistic on it, like how many people end up upside down in value if they have it for a long time. My mom and dad, stepdad have had one probably over 20 years. My mom passed away a while back, but they are way upside down. I don't think that was designed for them to go that long with no payment and build that interest up. But they haven't had a payment for 20 years on their house. And I mean, that's the difference because they had very, very little income as far as Social Security, pension, stuff like that.
Yeah, one of the things, and I think that's probably where it gets a bad rap, is that, you go back some years and the things that they have in place now probably weren't in place before, right? So at a certain age, at 62, the amount of equity that you're able to even tap into is very limited, right? Like it's
Right,
not like a
limited.
cash out where you can get to 80%. It's a very small amount, right? And so as you get up in age, then they start opening up that window to where you can get more money. And so I think the newest numbers, it's very few people end up upside down. But one of the things that I like to talk about is, for people who may not necessarily need to do a reverse mortgage, but maybe they own their home, is that when you do a reverse mortgage and you have that money just sitting, that money that's sitting that's not in use is actually making money for you, right? And it's typically over 7%. And you follow the rule of sevens, is that that money will double. What is it, within 7 or 10 years?
Yeah,
Your
7 years.
your double. So I mean, it's a great little investment strategy for them too. So
No,
much more than. Go ahead.
I know more people that are real estate rich and cash poor in California, and they're like, "Hey, I can never leave here." And I'm like, "Man, if you took all that equity, $300,000. I have some people that San Jose, they have a 500,000, 600,000. They can't afford to refi and go any higher in payment because, again, they're blue collar workers, maybe state workers, stuff like that. But their house is worth, a million, 1.5 million. This is average neighborhood. This isn't high end homes. It's just San Jose, California. And I think, my gosh, if you took that outside just Nevada, or don't even worry about getting to Georgia where you could do all kinds of things with that money. But I'm in Georgia, so I actually sold everything in California when I did this venture, and I moved to Georgia for tax purposes at the income level, both personal and business, but also the hub. And I needed the 3 hours if we're going to fund loans ahead of the West Coast. That was a big deal to make that change. Born and raised California, but I've never been afraid to make those changes because I want the best quality of life I can for me and my wife, stuff like that. But it was a big deal leaving. I didn't ask you, are you born and raised in Arizona?
I'm one of the few that are born and raised. There's a
Wow.
ton
Okay.
of transplants here, a lot from the Midwest. And I actually find there's a lot of people who are moving, the second and third generation who are moving back to the Midwest, or going to Texas, going to Tennessee, going to, a place like Kentucky where homes are affordable again. Because even out here with the masses of people that are moving from California and Washington, because they can't afford everything, now they're moving here, but that's also,
Raising
driven up
the
home
cost and the
prices too.
values. Yeah.
But yeah, so
It's happened here in Georgia, and I'm guilty of it because I'm like, I come in, I'm excited. So I pay what they have because I'm like, I get that much house. I get twice as much house for half the price. I'll pay that value. I'm not going to negotiate it down, but it's still cheaper than the same house in California. And that's my biggest comparison because I'm from California. I don't know much about Arizona, stuff like that. But Alabama's even cheaper.
Are you from the North Bay though?
No, I'm from half my life through 24 was Southern California, San Bernardino, Riverside. And then from 25 to 54 was Sacramento, up in that direction.
Sure. Yeah, that's where my wife's from. So we've got a lot of family up there, and
Oh, right
I
on.
know what you're talking about. I've got to go back what you were talking about earlier is, one of the first people I refied was my sister-in-law and her husband, and I think it saved him like $400 a month, but that's something. And my advice to him was to keep paying your normal monthly mortgage payment. And my brother-in-law and I just talked the other day, and he's, told me how many years that's taken off of his mortgage. So it's much more than that $300 a month savings now. Now they've saved thousands upon thousands of interest payments.
I I got into doing 20-year loans for a lot of my friends because we'd like, oh, hey, let's do a big cash out loan, consolidate all your debt, but do a 20-year loan. Hey, you're not going to save the 1,000, but you'll save 750, but you'll be on a 20-year term because a lot of them didn't have retirement because it costs so much to live in California. But, I got one friend, he's got like 7 years left and he has very little retirement, but he lives in a home that's now worth $1 million. And believe me, it's just a normal home, but he owes like 200,000 on this thing. And so they will eventually have to take that equity and do something with it. But that was the easiest way versus him trying to build $1 million in retirement. He would have had to put ungodly amounts versus doing the 20-year term and versus what he was doing. And all we did was make these small switches, but I don't think people understand the power. Sometimes it's everybody wants, I'll work more jobs so I can save more. And it's like, well, maybe you don't have to do it that way. It might be smarter to consolidate, and then we could put you on a different payment structure, different payment path, and you're going to gain 2 to 1, and retirement in the end is going to be how much money you have, and here's a true statement. When the crash happened in 2008, I became a stockbroker, and I used to meet with people, and I met with 2 people one time. One guy was coming out of Walmart, and he had a pension that was going to pay him like $8,300 a month. And he was embarrassed. And I'm like, dude, what are you embarrassed about? He goes, well, I wish I would have saved more. And I'm like, I don't think you're understanding. I just met with a guy who has $1 million and he's going to touch 5% of that per month. And he's going to end up at like $7,400. You actually have the equivalent pretty much of what he has. You just did it different. You have a guarantee. He's got to play the market. You just both got there in 2 different ways. But that kind of money, when you think it takes $1 million to generate $8,000 per month in retirement without losing it all because the market goes up and down all the time. But, and pensions aren't even really around anymore. A lot of companies don't do pensions. So you got to save for it. Good Lord, I hope a lot of things change because real estate's expensive. Jobs never keep up with the amount people make versus how fast the cost of things rise. That's been the way forever. Everybody's always pushing it now. I don't know about you, but California, I have 4 generations all coming together to buy that one home in San Jose. I've never seen that before. And they'll put them all in a house and, I'll have UWM call, hey, I think something's weird going on. I'm like, no, welcome to San Jose, California. It takes all 4 generations putting in their money just to make that house payment. And they're not used to that in Detroit, Michigan, right? So it's, right. We live in an interesting time when, to qualify, money's different. People do gigs. People are working jobs. You got multiple jobs and you need every dime of it. And it takes someone like you to navigate all that and still put that same loan together. Gone are the days when I've been on my job 10 years. She's been on her job. Here's 2 W-2s and 2 pays. It's like, no, I've been 10 jobs in the last 10 years trying to stay up. And I've got 6 jobs going on the side and I got a gig. Can I use that gig money? And it's like, wait, you just started that. Yeah, but I'm making really good money. Yeah, but I can't use that. It's an interesting market. They test us all, I think.
Yeah. My new thing is I get a lot of gig workers, make really good money on their paycheck, but a lot of that is per diem, which is not taxed, so they're not able to use that. But on the flip side is, as an investor, I have people who strictly focus on areas where there's a lot of commercial growth because they can rent out these homes to gig workers because it saves the workers money because they're not paying for hotels. They're not renting an entire house by themselves. They're just renting by the room. So I got this lady over in Austin who buys homes in and around Tesla and Samsung and she converts any den into a room. Anytime she can find another room, she does it, and then she just rents them all out by the room, and she's just absolutely crushing it. I don't even think she's 30 yet, but she's on. I think she got like 5 houses now under her name, and she's doing a great job. I told her she needs to, have her own little channel where she's showing people how to.
Right, we should actually get her on. I think that's the biggest thing I've learned. And I was guilty of it too. I get so busy doing loans that I'm like, God, I'm making some of these people into multimillionaires and they're just average people that, they're just aggressive. Like, as soon as they can qualify for the next house, they're doing it. And I'm like, why am I not doing that? Why are my loan officers not doing that? So when the market changes, they always have some type of base income coming in. But my rental properties have been some of the best appreciating things in the last 10 years. So I'm just like, I've got one in Georgia. We actually have the commercial building that Xpert's in, which commercial isn't that good right now, but thank goodness we use the commercial building, so it works out good that way. But rentals here in the South are still going up in value because they're 1/4 the cost of the same home in California, but the rent to cost ratio is really high here. Ohio is even, you got homes for $90,000 there. They're getting, $1,000 a month on them. I mean, some of these areas are incredible. But, what's some advice you'd give somebody today? I know I didn't mean to keep taking so much time, but I enjoy talking to you. What advice would you give to somebody right now? It's like, James, that's all fine and good, but I'm just going to sit on the sidelines and I'm going to wait till something happens. Who knows what something is? But people have been waiting around for 3 years for something to happen. And I don't know if it'll happen in the next 3 years. I mean, eventually something's going to happen, but how many years are you going to put your life on hold and be out of the game, whether it's that move up property, whether it's a refinance to start saving money now, and you could always refinance it later, to that first time home buyer that's like, you know what, James, it's expensive. I think I'm just going to rent. What advice you got for people?
The thing that I say to everybody is there's never a right time. There's only a right time for you.
Yeah. Good advice.
That's pretty much all I can ever tell them is that there will never be a perfect time, right? And there's, I use a story from somebody I knew that they had bought a house prior to 2008. And as the market was going up, they had a friend of theirs who was a realtor that convinced them to sell it. Oh man, you can make all this money. The realtor hadn't been very seasoned and he was just trying to get another deal. And so they sold their home. And by the time it closed, the market had gone up so much that they couldn't even afford to get back into the very same home that they sold, even with the cash that they had. So this person went from a homeowner to a renter. Right? So you look at it and say, oh man, that was terrible timing, right? But long story short is, a few years down the road when the market crashed, now they were able to take that money that they had, instead of buying one home, they were able to buy 2 homes with that. And that kind of just started them on a journey of, now they have, a huge number of properties. So it's never about timing. It's just about, getting out there and taking that next step.
No, I agree. That's, when's the best time? Yesterday. It's like, nobody has a crystal ball, and I've lived my life taking chances. I came from nothing. So it was, I could always go back to nothing and say, but at least I tried. But yeah, have I got it wrong a lot? Yeah, probably 999 times. But I tell you what, I've got it right a few times too. And only those couple right times have far outweighed and propelled me further in life. But people who are afraid to even try, whether it's advertising, whether, loan origination versus a guaranteed job at the state where they're going to guarantee you that $5,000 for life, it's like, yeah, that's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to turn around and do gigs on top of that, then eventually you got to find something and at least give it a try. I'm unhireable now. I trust myself more as a self-employed person that I can get a couple loans to make it through the hard times, and then I can excel in the easier times than to go back and sit behind a desk, pumping my hours in. Yeah, do I get weekends off? Maybe, but I tried that. At one time, I started out before I got into real estate. I was on my way to climbing utility poles for Edison in California. And I did it for a year and I cooked my ass off in the sun. That's not even Arizona sun. And I said, there ain't no way I could do this. I just got done playing baseball. I took that job and I got cooked in 1 year. man, I thought there's no way I could do this for 20 years and retire. But that was the only way I knew guys could make $100,000 with the overtime. If a storm came up, and that was a lot of money. And I thought, man, I'm going to go that path. And then somehow, here I am in real estate. I took a processing job just to make a transition from Southern California to Northern California. And that was the job opening. And I was like, hey, I kind of liked it. A lot of math involved. I actually talked to the customers. It used to be loan officers bring in the loan, processor takes it over, interacts, gets it approved, gets all conditions, closes the loan, while the loan officers just bring them in. And you had this disconnect where now you guys take it start to finish a lot, and the people remember you. Well, I wasn't good at talking to people and that processing. I had 65 loans at sometimes going back when we sold 8.25, 8.5 on the rates, back in 91, 92. But also a jumbo loan was 286. So, things have changed over the years. But wow, that made me sound pretty old. Yeah, I guess I am. Hey, James, I didn't mean to take all this time. Number one, I wanted people to know who you are. I wanted people to hear your voice, put a face with the voice. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to just sit and talk with me. I appreciate you coming over to Xpert Home Lending. You can go anywhere you want. You're great at what you do. But right now, thank you for blessing Xpert Home Lending with your presence. Thanks for taking the time to speak with me. I know we don't get to talk one-on-one a lot, so thank you for doing that. But, that's what it's about, and I'm glad I got to speak with you. Glad I got to steal your time. I know loans aren't easy, but you know what? You're good at what you do. So I wish you the best for 2025 as we see changes. We're seeing a huge pickup in apps, so something's getting ready to go on that's kind of in the air, and I'm excited to see what the next 60 days hold. We're ready. Everybody's ready. Believe me, it's a lot of pent up energy. But thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for coming on Mortgage Ballers. And what do we say every time with Mortgage Ballers? We say it. Stay thirsty, my friend.
Stay thirsty.
Gotcha. All right. Take care.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.